everyone. Welcome to session 3A, I think over 3A. This is maximizing productivity, tips and tricks to getting more done. So here's what you can expect from this session. Lots of tips and tricks and my experiences. In case you're not aware, the half-hour sessions at Affiliate Summit are 18 minutes of me talking and then 12 minutes of you guys just grilling me, throwing questions at me, giving additional tips and support to the audience. Can we get the back door closed, please? Thank you. Here's what not to expect. Don't come in here expecting I'm going to give you all the answers because I don't have all the answers. And don't expect anything earth-shattering because odds are you already know everything you need to know here. But as for many Affiliate Summit sessions or sessions anywhere, you go to these things and you hear them and you go, oh yeah, I already knew that. And it's just good to be, have that affirmation that you know what you're doing. So let's get into the first steps. I'm going to talk pretty quick because I need to get my time down on this. All right, so the first thing you need to do to be more productive is plan your day ahead. So the Ivy Lee method says that you write down 6 things and no more than 6 things. I have this cool story about who Ivy Lee is and why this method works and how it came about, and I don't have time to tell it. If you have more than 6 things that you want to get done, which I'm sure many of you have more than 6 things you want to get done, then you have to go to Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett has this 2-list strategy, also known as the 25 strategy or the 25-5 strategy. You write down everything that you want to accomplish. You pick the 5 top things that you want to accomplish from that list, and those are the 5 things, or if you're Ivy Lee, the 6 things that you're actually going to work on. Those are the only things you work on. Those other 20 things you ignore until you get those 5 or 6 things done. You get to prioritize them, which we'll talk about in a second. And then once you have this information, what are you going to do with it? Well, you can put it to Trello, Asana, Google Calendar, or pencil and paper. All good options, all options that I use. I use Trello right now, but I'm going to talk about the other ones as well. So you have your list of things to do, and this isn't, I guess, a list of things to do. This is a list of things you want to accomplish, right? Because something that you need to do is answer your email. But that's not really something that at the end of the day you're going to be like, oh, I answered my email today and I'm so much further ahead in this project now that I did that, right? So let's not talk about everything you need to do. Let's focus on what you want to accomplish to move yourself forward. Okay, so anything that needs to be done is going to fall into one of these 4 buckets. And I'm sure you've seen this decision matrix before many different times. You need to be in quadrant 2 on this. This is where you can focus and get stuff done, all right? Quadrant 1 is where you manage things, and this is all about delegation. And we're going to talk about delegation in a moment. But these are important things and urgent, so they have to get done, but you don't have to do them. Someone else can do them. Quadrant 3 is busy work. These are things you want to avoid. So like my inbox is busy work. I want to avoid that. I don't need to sit there and answer all my emails. There's ways to limit the amount of time you spend in your inbox. And speaking of limiting, quadrant 4 is not important, it's not urgent. You want to limit the amount of time that you spend here, but not completely wipe it out. There's one video game that I like to play, and if I get my stuff done, I'm going to give myself some time here. That's totally a quadrant 4 thing. It's a reward for me. Again, not important or urgent, unless you're a big fan of the game. So, we talked about that quadrant 1 and delegation. These are the things that are important, urgent, but you don't have to do it. Now, with delegation, if I can delegate tasks, anyone can, because I am a super control freak. So I'm going to tell you my trick to getting delegation done properly. The first thing is communication. You need to be able to take that task that you need done and really write it out. And sometimes you're going to find that you have a task that takes you 20 minutes and it's going to take you 25 minutes to write it out. A lot of these things that I'm telling you, you're investing the time up front and you're going to save it in the long run. Trust me on that one. The delegation is one of these things. Teach the person who you're working with, here's how you do it, here's step by step. Next time you need that task done and you give it to them, it's a 3-minute email to them and they already have all the step by step on how to do it. Accept the work. When you delegate something and they do it and it comes back to you, it's not going to be the way that you would do it, but it's done and it's not on your list. So accept it. Done is better than perfect. We'll get back to that in a moment as well. And then following up, you need to be able to be good at following up when you delegate things or appear to be good at following up on things. So I appear to be good at following up on things. I'm really not. I use Boomerang. This is my referral link, ericnagel.com/go/boomerang. And what happens is, so I'm writing an email to Tricia here. And this is something that I'm delegating. It doesn't matter what it says. But the point of this is that when I send this email, in the lower right, I'm telling Boomerang, if she doesn't reply in 4 days, have this come back to my inbox. So that way, it's out of my inbox. I don't have to worry about it. And 4 days later, I'm not thinking about that task, and it comes back to my inbox, and I go, oh, gee, Tricia didn't get back to me. That's a bad example, because she'll always get back to me. But when working with contractors or virtual assistants or anything, Boomerang is really going to help you follow up on delegation. All right, so one of the methods for kind of scheduling your day or getting your list of to-do things and figuring out when you're going to do them is putting it all in Google Calendar. So I created a separate calendar called Scheduled Work, and I know that from 9 to 10 on this day, I'm going to work on this thing, and from 10 to 11, I'm going to work on this other thing. You guys have heard eat the frog before, maybe? Eat the frog means do the absolute worst thing that you don't want to do first. All right, so get that done early in the day. So what's great about this is that you're limited. If you say that from 9 to 10, I'm going to work on this thing, at 10 o'clock, you're done working on it, and done is better than perfect. So you might have some reason. Whenever I go to add two numbers together, I find myself 90 minutes later with an Excel spreadsheet open and like multiple tabs looking back at each other. If I schedule my time that I'm only giving myself 20 minutes to work on this, then that's as far as I'm going to get. This doesn't work for me anymore because I do have a lot of things that kind of come up during the middle of the day that can kind of sidetrack me. So while it doesn't work for me, maybe it's something that could work for you. I know it does work for a lot of people. Pencil and paper. I used this for a while. My favorite thing about this is when you write things down, well, first of all, it's been proven that you're more accountable to yourself when you actually write something down, write it out. The other thing that I liked about this is that when you have something on your list of things you want to get done, and if you don't get it done, you have to write it out again on the next day. And if you didn't get it done again, you have to write it out again. And after a while, you kind of feel guilty about writing this thing out. But you start thinking, do I really have to do this thing? So it'd be really cool if we had a to-do list, like this is all the things that I want to get done, and if you don't touch these things, they slowly fade away into the background. And I'm going to show you that coming up when we talk about Trello. So I saw this from intelligentchange.com, God bless you. The productivity planner looks cool. I don't know, I didn't use it, but if you're into pen and paper, take a look at it. Okay, so once you have, these are the things you want to accomplish. I'm a huge fan of this. I use this actually when I have to clean my office because I get distracted. If you ever have to clean your office and you find things, totally get distracted. But just set a timer. So in Google or DuckDuckGo, if you're sick of Google, go to DuckDuckGo and use them as a search engine. But you can just type in 20-minute timer, and it'll give you a timer, and it starts counting down. And you're just going to work on that one thing until that timer runs out. Don't try to multitask. It's been proven time and time and time again that multitasking doesn't work, but multi-purposing does work. Okay, I enjoy spending time with my kids. I also like going to the gym. So I upgraded my gym membership so I can bring a guest in every time I go to the gym. And on the weekends, I bring my kids in with me. So I get my workout in, and we get to spend time together, and then we go to Tim Hortons and eat donuts. Okay, so my daily rituals, one of the big things I want to talk about here is Trello. This kind of explains my Trello system that one of my colleagues talked to me about a year ago, actually after leaving Affiliate Summit. And it explains the list, but I'm going to show it to you because if you've never seen Trello before, and all the slides are on SlideShare if you're trying to take pictures and such. So Trello has a bunch of lists. These are vertical columns, and they're made up of boards. And on each of these lists, there's cards in the lists. So I have my today list. When we talked about you're going to find 5 or 6 things that you want to accomplish today, that's in my today list. And the very top of the today list is the thing you're working on right now. So if you're ever confused about what you should be doing, you go to your today list, you go to the very top, and that's what you should be working on. Notice on the top of my today list, it says work on Affiliate Summit West presentation. That's because when I took this screenshot, I was working on this presentation, so it's working. My later list is things that I eventually want to do, but it's just not going to be today. And then you have a to-done list, which is extremely important. Anytime you get something done, you move it from your today list to your to-done list. I happen to have a to-done today. To-done today. That sounded funny when I said it out loud. Because we have a daily stand-up call with my team. So I have to report back everyone, what we did yesterday and what we're going to do today. This keeps us all accountable and moving forward with our projects. Your to-done list can get to be pretty long. So I recommend that you break it down into this is what I did this month, and then start a new to-done list every month. In addition to this, what else do we have? We have a someday, which is this just brain dump. If I ever wanted to do something, I have to get it out of my head or else it'll be stuck there forever. And then eventually there's a to-don't list. This is something that, I put it on my later list. It started out on the later list, and then I said, you know what, I'm not gonna get to this anytime soon. I'm gonna move it to the someday list. And then it sat on someday for so long, it just eventually gets moved out to the to-don't. It's not something that we're gonna get done. Okay, so I explained all this, so I can skip over that whole slide. All right, some helpers if you're using Trello. Altamelo is a Chrome extension. I actually recently disabled it because it crashed Trello a couple times, but what it can do is on your Trello cards, you can set due dates to specific cards, and then you can sort your list by that due date. So that was kind of helpful for me. Card color tiles for Trello is a Chrome extension. Instead of just the colors on your cards, when you label something, it'll show you what the label is. Those are like labels for Gmail. Works the same way. And what's really cool is the card aging power-up. This is built into Trello. Remember when I was talking about something on your to-do list that if you don't touch it, it eventually just disappears? That's what this does. So at first, you can see it on the right, it's unaged, and it's perfectly, you can see it really well. And then after a week, it fades out a little bit more. After 2 weeks, it fades out a little bit more. After 4 weeks, you can barely see it. So it doesn't get rid of your list. It doesn't come off of your list, but if you can look at your list really quickly and see the ones that are barely visible, you can just take those from your later and move them to someday, or from someday and to your to-don't list. Or if you're a pirate, you can make it kind of age like a pirate map. And Trello also has the ability that you can send an email to Trello. So you set up, there's a certain email address, it's in your Trello settings. Take that, create yourself a contact in Gmail, and if you have an email that you want to add to your to-do list, you just forward it to Trello, it'll appear on your later list. And then you can keep your inbox clean that way. Okay, so speaking of Gmail, so you're in your inbox, and you can spend a lot of time here. And when you're spending a lot of time in your inbox, you're not being very productive. So I'm going to encourage you in the next week to spend even more time there, and I'll explain in a moment. Enable your keyboard shortcuts. Okay, this is something that is going to drive you crazy, and it might take you a week or 2 weeks, but only use the keyboard shortcuts in Gmail. Because once you start learning what those keyboard shortcuts are, you can whip through your inbox very quickly. I listed some of the important ones here. You're gonna have to set some settings as well. So either take a picture of this or look it up on SlideShare. And then learning the keyboard shortcuts, there's a whole slew of them. These are the most important ones I find. And finally, it's really easy to delete an email, right? You just delete, delete, delete. But the problem is if you just keep deleting those emails from, Kohl's, then you're still gonna get those emails. Unsubscribe. It takes longer to unsubscribe than delete, but you're taking the time now to invest in your future. So learning keyboard shortcuts, I spent an entire week in Gmail only using the keyboard, and it is very painful, but you eventually get to learn how to move around pretty quickly. Okay, if anyone here use Slack? A few? Okay, cool. So learn how to control the notification settings. I recently got a new watch that all my notifications from my phone buzzed my wrist. So I also recently turned off all notifications for almost anything because it got really annoying. And you know what? Life went on. I didn't miss anything. So learn how to control notifications in Slack. You can mute specific channels. In FMTC, the company that I work for, we have a channel just for our data entry team. And there's like 12 people in there talking about the data that they're processing. I don't care. So I mute that channel. And if they say my name, then a little ding comes up and I go look at it. But otherwise, I don't need to get those notifications. If you're looking for an affiliate Slack channel, affiliateslackers.com, it's still out there. It says that it's $12.97 after a 30-day trial, but we're actually canceling all the payments, so it's just completely free. I just haven't had time to update it because it's pretty low on my priority list. So if you're interested, go to Affiliate Slackers, and you can join Connie and Trisha and myself and learn all about, it's kind of like your networking in between affiliate summits. Also in Slack, there's these slash commands. So /DND is do not disturb, and then you put in a time frame. So you can say /DND 1 hour. If I'm going on a 1 hour call, I'll put myself in do not disturb mode for an hour. I will receive no notifications. If you try to send me a message, it'll say, hey, Eric's in do not disturb mode right now. If it's really important, you can disturb him and he will hate you forever, but you can do so. Otherwise, all the notifications kind of get piled up until you're out of do not disturb mode. So learn how to control your notifications. Believe me, life goes on without you knowing exactly when somebody comments on one of your Facebook statuses. All right, I always put a Dilbert cartoon in my presentation. So automation and delegation, when you delegate some work, it doesn't have to be to another person. You can delegate to a system. So Zapier and If This Then That are just two great systems. They take stuff in, they do stuff with it, and they send it out. And they make it really easy to take these things coming in and putting them back out. So Dilbert automated a system, and his boss called him lazy. So I guess we're lazy. I have easily 50 or so automation tech things set up. So this is one that I did a couple of years ago. Every day I would check my affiliate stats, and it took me about 8 minutes in the morning to check all my stats. And I got sick of it one day, and I spent 6 hours automating it. This is because I was like tying into network APIs. I was not using Zapier or anything. But taking 6 hours to automate something that was eating 8 minutes a day, on day 45, I broke even. And on day 365, 1 year after automating that, I gained an additional 42.5 hours to my life, I guess, that I'm not checking stats. It's just all coming into me. So you're going to invest the time up front, and you'll reap the rewards later. Okay, other things you already know but you don't want to hear, exercise. It's very important to your productivity. The 4 simple rules, number 1 and 2 go hand in hand. Never go 3 days without exercise, which is really hard when you're at Affiliate Summit, but it's possible. And work out at least 3 days a week. And then one of my personal favorites is never miss a Monday. Once you miss Monday, it's really hard for the rest of the week to go to hell. But if you can actually get up and get to the gym Monday morning, then you're much more productive, not only Monday, and it sets a good tone for the rest of the week. Okay, meditation. If you're into that, check out Headspace, or I guess if you're not into it, check out Headspace. It's an app. There's 10-minute sessions that's completely free. I try it. The first time I had vertigo, which was awesome. When luckily I was laying in bed when it happened, and then I often fall asleep while doing meditation. But it helps you just calm yourself and bring yourself together and refocus yourself. Okay, sleep. Typical people, I just hit 18 minutes. Typical people sleep 6.8 hours. If you're at peak performance, it's more like 8.5 hours. The key thing here is everybody is different. So I like getting 5 to 6 hours and then a 20-minute nap. How do I get up after 5 or 6 hours? If you're having trouble being a morning person, these tips are crucial. The most important one is when you wake up, at least a full glass of water. And if not 2 full glasses of water, and that will really wake you up. I put my alarm clock across the room. I use this ugly alarm clock that's called a sunrise alarm clock, and it simulates the sun rising, and it gets brighter for a half hour before my alarm goes off. I can't tell you the last time I heard my alarm, because I just get woken up by the light. And then this military energy gum is freaking fantastic. I'll be having it at Share a Sale party tonight because I woke up at 4 in the morning. So just chew that for 5 minutes and you're good to go for quite a while. You can get that from Amazon. I failed because I did not give you an affiliate link. All right, limit your news. So I don't know if anyone saw on Twitter that I was going to tell you why you won't find hummus as an emoji on your phone. And I'm not going to tell you actually, but it is in my presentation here. You don't have to read everything you see online, okay? I'm sure that The Seven Dwarfs as a sequel to the Lord of the Rings trilogy is a fabulous article, but is it really going to help you be more productive with your day, okay? So start cutting out the news, especially I guess mainstream news. It's more entertainment. But the 2 things that I read every day from the week, there's an email subscription called The 10 Things You Need to Know Today. And from Ozzy, there's the Presidential Daily Brief. That's all the news that you need without, cooking recipes and all that other stuff. And then limit distractions. We all get distracted. Rescue Time is a great app that you can put on your PC, Mac, whatever. It also goes on your phone, and you can set goals that you only want to be distracted for 40 minutes a day, and it gives you reports and tells you where you waste all your time. It's great to actually get a realization of how much time you spend on Facebook. Okay, wrapping it up, done is better than perfect. This slide isn't perfect, but it's done. And ambition. So if you're here, that means that you want to be more productive. And one of the most important things to realize is that you are being productive. That to-done list is important so you can see what you're getting done. But sometimes it's your ambition that kind of knocks you down. Sean was just speaking in here about having a support group. And really you need that because when there's all these things about, I want to get more done. I see other people doing more than what I'm doing. Don't compare yourself to other people. Comparing yourself to other people is constantly, a constant moving target. So just, be happy with what you're getting done, but not necessarily be satisfied with it. You can get a little bit more done, but don't start comparing yourself to other people, and don't say that I only got this done, and start letting yourself get down on it. Okay. So if there's time, I'm going to go back to this because there really isn't time. In my slides, I do have all the sources, and I'm going to remind you at this time while you're all thinking about the wonderful questions you're going to ask me, please fill out the feedback forms. This is session 3A, Maximizing Productivity. I am Eric Nagel, and I did that in 21 and a half minutes, just like I rehearsed. Okay, questions to the floor, and please come to the mic if you want, or I can repeat it. If not, I have a couple more slides to go back through. Yeah?
So I use Gmail, but I use mail.app. And so...
What is it?
I use mail.app.
Okay, yeah.
So I prefer that interface.
Mm-hmm.
And I prefer using, instead of labels...
Folders.
Kind of concept. So what would you recommend for somebody like me? I know Boomerang is out there and stuff, but...
For what do I recommend? Okay, so you're using the Mail app instead of Gmail. What do I recommend for you for what? For getting control over your inbox or for?
Well, there's some really cool capabilities like Boomerang and stuff
Yeah.
that I'm missing out on.
Yeah.
Because I'm not using the web.
Well, then maybe I would recommend use the web interface. So the question is, he's using the Mail app instead of Gmail, and what would I recommend? Because there were a lot of things in here that I recommended about that revolved around Gmail with Boomerang and the keyboard shortcuts. I'm sure your Mail app has keyboard shortcuts. So take a look at that first of all. You are so much more productive once you have the keyboard shortcuts. It gets into like muscle memory and everything. You can fly through your email. I know that Boomerang is available for other services other than just Gmail, so you can see if it's available, within your app as well. But really, a lot of the things about coming up with your list of 6 things and everything doesn't matter where you're getting your email from. Yeah, Trish.
It's not a softball question, but I'll ask you this. So what do you do when you're paralyzed by the to-do list? Like when you just have so much to do that you don't even know where to start with everything. Those days where you wake up and there's just so many things. Where do you start?
Okay, so the question is, when you have so much stuff to do, where do you start? I think do any of these things have deadlines? I mean, that's one of the things to look at. If you have something that's due by noon and something else that's due by 5, you have to obviously look at the deadlines for things. And then I agree, there's a lot of like big projects that I'm paralyzed by. So what I do is the first step that I'm going to take, I'm going to spend an hour on that big project and break it down into smaller projects. And that's really helpful because if you have, a new site you want to build, I can't put, 6 hours on my calendar and say, work on this site. That I'm going to get nothing done. So I'm going to break it down and say, okay, I'm going to work on this part of the site, and then I'm going to install WordPress. I'm going to install my theme. I'm going to install the plugins. So really break it down as much as you can and delegate. Take your list of things that you have to get done and say, what do I actually have to do versus what can I give other people to do? Sean.
You mentioned Boomerang earlier. I know a lot of people use it. I've always felt weird about letting outside apps, third-party apps, have access to my email. Do you have any comments on that?
Okay, so Sean asked about Boomerang having outside access to my email. It is benefits and risk type thing you have to weigh, and to me, the benefits far outweigh the risk. I guess if they're reading my email, good for them, but I mean, I guess Google already has my email in this case. Yeah, I don't really worry about it, but I don't know, what else, I guess what else can you do to remind yourself to come back? Slack has reminders. I use Slack reminders all the time. You type /remind me, so you can say, remind me on Thursday to follow up with Tricia. So, I mean, Slack reminders is one of the best features, I think. I wrote a LinkedIn article on that. Okay, yeah?
I use Wunderlist. Do you have any tips?
All right, Wunderlist. I've never heard of Wunderlist. Yeah. Is it another like to-do list manager thing? Okay. So I would recommend, I mean, a lot of these things, doesn't matter what the tools are that you're using it. Still, you can still have the whole idea of come up with 5 things that you need to accomplish tomorrow. That's one of the biggest things. It's just limiting what your expectations are of yourself. If you say that I'm going to accomplish 22 things tomorrow because you have really high ambition, and then you fail, and you keep failing again and again and again, it gets hard. It gets hard to keep going the next day. So setting yourself realistic expectations is just key. So I'm assuming Wunderlist, maybe can you set multiple lists up and say, this is my list of what I'm going to do today, this is my list of what I'm going to do later. That's a possibility. Yeah?
I found it interesting the concept about eat the frog.
Yeah.
Do the worst thing first,
Right.
which would be the most painful to get done. That's a big issue for me because I have, if something is mentally hard, something I have to figure out, like I haven't done this thing in 6 months and now I have to relearn the whole thing all over again to do it. What do you tell yourself to motivate yourself to actually do it?
Okay, so the question is, eat the frog. You're going to do the hardest thing first. What do you tell yourself to get that motivation to do it? You look at everything else that you get to do afterwards. And that's the idea of eating the frog. It's like, look, this sucks, but as soon as I'm done with this, I can work with the other things that I want to work on. And it has to get done eventually. So whether you do it first or last, it has to get done. Get it done first, and then you can move on from there. Okay, I think we're pretty much out of time. Thank you all for coming. If you have any other questions, you can see me after, and slides are also on SlideShare. Thanks.